Welcome to Raising the Curve, a podcast designed to teach you everything that you need to know to be better with your money. Come and learn alongside me, Sophie Hallwright, a total beginner, from the finance expert, Victoria Harris.
So I've asked all of the questions you wish you could so that finance, investing and growing your wealth actually makes sense.
Yes, it's expert education, but that we promise will not be boring.
And in the wise words of Cher,
my mom said to me, you know, sweetheart, one day you should settle down and marry a rich man. And I said, Mom, I am a rich man.
Come and talk and learn and laugh with us, because together we really can raise the curve. We've got a brand new, I was about to say segment, but it's kind of an ongoing episode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a little
Curveballs.
tangent, a little offshoot from our podcast.
Since we've been doing the Curve podcast, we've had so many awesome DMs from people who have had weird, wonderful, awkward curveballs. You know, the sorts of things you talk to your friends about, relationship problems, think that, but there's some kind of money angle in there. So we decided to call this Curveballs. It's a way of bringing the community into the podcast more and helping with any money-related issues that you might be having.
And I love the name Curveballs, Sophie's creative genius. We thought, you know, we need to get an expert in because, you know, well, Sophie and I are great at some things. It's not this. And so we didn't want to give advice. So we were like, let's get an expert in. So we got the incredible Dr. Lurve, who is Australia's leading relationship expert. She's known for guiding people through things like love, family, relationships, business connections. And she was just like a modern day cupid. She was insane. And also she kind of really spoke to me personally, to the point that I was like, okay.
She was like shifting on the couch, like awkwardly, like, okay, back to the other curveballs. She's got a really diverse background. So she's worked in relationships and psychology and teaching and coaching. She's done hypnotherapy, which is something I've always been interested in. But she essentially combines academic expertise with practical strategies. So whether that be a romantic relationship, a friendship, whatever, she was a really perfect person, because a lot of the curveballs that come through are not just romantic situations between partnerships. A lot of them were friends or family members. So we're going to jump straight to that. But if you have any curveballs that you would like us and Dr. Lurve to talk about or give you some kind of resolution, then just send us a DM. Should we throw to her now?
Let's do it.
Okay, Vic, do you want to read the first one?
yeah, okay.
Brace yourself.
Hi, I have a bit of a curveball I'd love to hear your thoughts on. So basically I work for a company based in the US, but I'm living in the UK. Last week, my boss came to visit and he suggested we go to a really nice restaurant. In my head, I thought, oh my God, yum, I've always wanted to try this certain restaurant. But when it came to paying for the bill, he asked to split it with me. I was kind of shocked because it was £90. And if it was just a catch-up, I would have 1000% suggested that we just go to a cheap pub. He knows exactly what I earn, which is only £45,000. Is it fair for me to feel a little bit gutted that he didn't pay for the meal, especially when he suggested the fancy restaurant? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no way. He definitely should have paid for that meal. That is bad form.
Being a boss myself, I just can't. There was just no way I would take my team to an expensive restaurant and expect them to pay.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I'm
so
baffled.
awkward and rude.
And don't forget, she was invited. So you don't get invited to a dinner and then say, hey, you can also have half the bill. He's inviting her to dinner.
I also think if your boss lives in the States and you're working remotely, there's not a whole lot of work culture, you know? Like, you're working remotely, he's visiting.
Like,
Was it
one
a guy
dinner
or a
is
girl?
nothing.
As a guy, yeah. You know, that's almost like team building, morale. Like, it should be up to him to be like, love you working for, you know, like a little bit of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You miss out on that if you're working remotely. You don't get that team bonding experience.
What do you suggest she could have done in that situation, though? Like, how do you navigate that conversation at the time?
I think there's a power play here as well. That's her boss. So she's going to feel a little bit intimidated to question, you know, are you paying? Is this on the company? She's just, you know, like, it's an awkward conversation. So depending on sort of her status in the organization depends on the quality of the conversation she's going to have, right?
I also feel a little bit like if I mean, firstly, I would never do that. I think that's really uncomfortable. And actually, I've got so many friends, just for context, in London who are earning similar amounts to what this girl messaged in. And they have to be so careful the times that they go out for dinners. Like it's a really pick and choose, maybe once or twice a month because it's expensive. I would be fuming and so gutted if the one time that I'd spent my like monthly going out budget was with my boss without realizing it.
Yeah, I don't know if she could have had foresight into this, because the assumption is my boss is coming and he's going to take me to dinner. You know, that would be her assumption. So, I think it's a very big power play.
Is it like afterwards maybe sending an email and saying, hey, just wanted to check, was that dinner
something you want me to expense?
Yeah. Because I actually don't have enough money for my rent. But you don't want to.
No, you can't.
It's funny. I actually have a similar story, and I remember traveling heaps for work, and we had to pay for flights up front and accommodation, and then we'd get all reimbursed with work when we would return, and we'd have all our expenses and everything. And I remember this one trip I couldn't afford. Like I didn't have any money to pay up front. And I knew I was going to get reimbursed by work. It wasn't an issue. But I remember talking to my parents about it, being like, can I borrow money off you so I can pay for this flight for then to go on this work trip? And my parents were like, absolutely not. Just ask your work to pay for it, or to front load your, or give you a credit card or something. And I was just like, absolutely not. I was like, because then I'm telling them I'm shit with my money. I can't afford certain things. And it was like this whole dynamic. And then I picked up my big girl pants and I did say that. And they were like, oh, of course. Like, yes, so sorry. We didn't even think, And I was just like, here I was stressing. And of course there's going to be people my age that can't fork out like sometimes, a couple of $1,000s for a work trip. Yeah. And I was just like, so glad I had that conversation.
I think for her, maybe afterwards when he's asked to split the bill, it could be something where she turns around and says, oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was a work dinner. I thought that was a professional dinner. I didn't realize it was personal or splitting the bill.
Oh, my God.
It's just so awkward.
I feel really sorry for her because I understand why she didn't do it in the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely my take is he should have paid.
I agree. I think it's a unanimous he should have paid. And I think the best approach now, since she hasn't said anything while they were going to pay. Also, sorry, side note, a good thing to do in that situation is to joke about it, like to bring a bit of lightness, be like, oh, come on, it's going on the company card, surely, as like a way to lighten the mood and be like, are you effing joking?
Yeah. I think next time if she's asked to dinner, she can joke about it and say, do I need to bring my parents' credit card or is it your shout?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And if you're too awkward to do something about it now in hindsight because it feels like the moment's gone and you just feel too awkward, that's a good approach for next time. Either bring it up at the bill or before you go, make sure you know if you're paying for it or not, because then you can choose the location.
What if you did get to the point of splitting the bill and you didn't have the money? Like,
I think that's her point. She's like, £90 for dinner when you're on £45,000 is
But like, what
lot.
if you genuinely had no way to pay for that?
I mean, she would have to call it. She would say, I'm sorry, I wasn't anticipating paying for the bill. I don't have it. I didn't bring the money, or I don't have it.
It's so funny because even hearing you say these things, it's like making me feel really icky.
I know.
Like, I know that you're right, and I know that kind of straight and to the point communication is so important. But it goes against everything we've been told as women, to be polite, to not be like, ruffling feathers. Like, what are you laughing
The
at?
next curveball.
Oh, what? Oh, my God.
Sorry.
Go on.
These are anonymous curveballs that have been sent in.
Okay, this one was actually Vix. I used it as inspiration and I didn't tell her that we were going to use it. So
Give it to us. Come on.
maybe you just, all right, Vic, well, you're just going to say what happened now.
Okay. Hi, Curve team. Okay.
Well, I knew you wouldn't share it.
I know. Okay, so I went on a first date last week. We met at a cafe, wild, I know, and decided to go for a pizza date. To set the scene, he chose quite a shit spot. I think it was Nando's, but the pizza chain. It was Pizza East. And when the bill came, he asked to split it. Now, I realize this sounds a little snobby, but it costs about 35% £5. We didn't get drinks. It wasn't expensive. I would have assumed he would get it and I'd get the next one, but that's not what happened. I'm also conflicted about going on a second date because I already feel as though we're probably financially misaligned. What are your thoughts? To preface this is the first date I've been on where the bill has been split and they haven't paid for it. And I remember coming back into the office and the girls were like, how was it? How was the date? And the first thing I was like, he split the bill. And like the fact that was the thing that I hung on from the date wasn't like great chat, great looking guy, anything like that. But I do feel a bit snobby.
Can I ask you, apart from the bill issue, what was the date like? If you had to take that part away, tell me about the date.
It was really good. And we even spoke about a second date. Yeah, it was like the conversation was flowing, all of that. And then I think the splitting the bill almost put a bad taste in my mouth, which is horrible to say, but
you're being honest. I think it's good.
I also had 2 pieces of pizza and he had the rest. FYI.
Very important detail. Thank you for sharing.
You got ripped off. No.
Yeah.
There's 2 things happening here. I'm going to put it out there. A, he could be not sure how to take a woman that is successful and feels like he wants to give you the platform of an even playing field. And it's not that he couldn't pay it. He could, but he didn't know whether to go there or not. And he was like, I'll just split it so we're on this even playing field. And she doesn't feel like I don't think she's capable.
Well, didn't he say something like that?
No, but I think that was probably it because there was a long pause when she came with the machine. But I also think it's a bit tough for men in those situations.
Yeah.
When it's a male-female date and they don't want to, what's the word? Insult us by paying. They don't know how we're going to react. Like you say, successful woman, okay, I don't want to insult her. I want her to give her the platform to pay if she wants. And then, but I'm like, insult me.
Yeah, right.
But everyone's different. That's the thing. Some people really don't want to be paid for. And so I think actually it comes down to just having a conversation about like, how do you feel? I mean, I don't know. I think Dr. Lurve may need to butt in here because I'm absolutely not a relationship expert. But I imagine, yeah, you're right. It's hard for guys.
That's right. There's 2 options. One of them is the one that we suggested about him giving you an even playing field. The other one is you're not financially aligned. Basically, it doesn't matter how much fun you have. At some point, if you're not financially aligned, it's a value proposition in a relationship and the relationship ultimately won't work.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So your values around finances are just as important as your values around family, around connection and intimacy, around spirituality. They're all moving parts to the big puzzle. And that's why we see so many relationships fall apart when their financial values do not align.
When you say they do not align, because I guess if we're using this as an example, let's just say, for argument's sake, he did have the money and he is financially pretty sound. Are we saying values or what they have at that time? Because it's really different to say like we like spending money on similar things, we have similar aspirations, but if at that point in time they're not able to, like I just love to clarify that.
Absolutely. So you've got values as in the way you like to interact with finances and what you do with it, or you've got the value is in the dollar amount of how much you have. So you could be with a gentleman that is filthy rich, a multimillionaire, billionaire, but the way his values around money and the way he interacts with money and the way he's either stringent, open, he shares, all of those type of values that go with the money makes a difference on how he deals with money in the relationship. Okay. So it's not the value as in he had the money at the time, because you could go with somebody that is quite wealthy, but they will still split the bill and they can afford it.
Is it something like being with someone that's like, well, no, everything should be split 50-50. That's my value. Like in terms of like what I value is that everyone splits things 50-50, and yours might be like, well, no, I think it should be proportionate on income.
Yeah.
I think. Do you know, is it kind of like that?
It can be, because you're looking, the difference is you're looking at equality versus being equitable, right?
Yes. And this is kind of what I mean, because I think you can meet people who maybe you're aligned from a value standpoint, but not from a equity standpoint. So you might date someone who can afford to go on a super yacht in Greece, but has misaligned values around money. Or you could date someone that one day wants to go on a super yacht in Greece, but can't currently afford it. But the way that you approach finances is similar. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's equity and there's equality.
No, I think it's values and equity.
There's equity.
Help us. We're misaligned.
No, because you're both saying, or you're both saying the same thing. You're just using different words.
Okay.
Right? You're ultimately saying the same thing. It is how you interact, and the relationship you have with money is going to fit with the relationship the way I have a relationship with money. So if you are quite generous and you are a type of person that your love language is gifts or experiences, or and you're going to date somebody that doesn't even appreciate gifts or being generous or giving you an experience, it doesn't work unless you learn how each other's value system. Values trump everything. It doesn't matter how many dollars you have in the bank account. Values will always trump anything in a relationship.
But it's just interesting because, I think if we were to look at Vic, who is so generous, she's so generous, maybe that's why that felt really misaligned for you, because you would be someone that would be like, I'll pay for it. And so the fact that he didn't, it's not so much that whether or not he has the money, it's the fact that he didn't opt for the generous option. And for you, that's what you value.
Yeah. So, Victoria, in that scenario, I wouldn't say I wouldn't go on a second date. I would actually take the second date, and I would actually give him feedback about what that date felt like for you. And I would, and this is hard. This is a hard conversation, right? Women struggle with this and this is why we don't ever get what we want, because we find it really difficult to talk about what we want. And we almost feel like they've got to get it right the first time. Otherwise, that's it. But sometimes they need a little bit of hand-holding.
This is such a good point.
If it means that you have the second date and, right, you have this conversation, you say, I really enjoyed our date last time. It ticked all of my boxes. There was probably one thing that I felt uncomfortable with, and I'm going to be transparent with you. I've actually never split a bill with somebody, and that was the first experience I've ever had, and I just wasn't comfortable with it. But everything else was okay. Most men would be okay
and feel
with that.
awkward for you, and it's not even happening.
This poor boy being a little content punching bag.
Right? Most women will be, it's the women that don't feel okay with that. We go straight to our gut. We go, oh, that's cringe. The blokes appreciate the feedback. They are struggling to work out how to navigate the dating scene, and because they don't know what to do for women anymore. Do they open the door? Do they pull out the seat? Do they, hold our hand? Do they hold the umbrella for us? Do they, pay for our dinner? Like, a lot of them are struggling because they know that you're quite competent and capable. Will I offend this woman? I really like her, and I don't want her to think that I don't think she's capable, but I still want to look after her.
Oh, this is such a good conversation, because I'm just even thinking about the time, because I really appreciate when someone carries my bags, for example, because I just can't be bothered. It's not that I can't. I'm just like, well, it's so easy for you. You're huge and have way bigger muscles. Can you just pick that up? So I'm fine with that, whereas Vic's not.
I hate that. I would rather struggle with 10 bags than...
But why? It's so weird.
Because it's like, they're my bags. I can do it. I can hold them.
Yeah. No. Victoria, I'll tell you something now. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman.
Thank you.
Agreed.
You deserve for somebody to hold your bags and appreciate your femininity. You don't have to have a set of boobs and a set of balls at the same time. You not allowing a man to do that for you. Okay, this is a gift. This is not saying you can't carry your own bags. Okay, this is you meeting men at a masculine vibrational level, which means you won't end up ever in a relationship because you'll be like a mate. And even if you do end up in a relationship, it'll always be with someone that is less than you vibrationally, because he will always let you carry your bag.
We've had some penny drop moments. I can see the eyes glazing over. I'm like, I think.
No, it's just like, and this is, I've been doing a lot of work on this. So it's very confronting, but in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably time if you're working on it, because you normally work on the stuff that you're ready to unpack. But for you, I would be saying probably reflect on why is it you want to meet men at the same level as that they come to you. We are women. We have a very different vibration, and we are at our best in every part of our lives when we act like women. Men are built physically different to us for a reason. Our strength is in our femininity. Our strength is in our ability to lean on a man and let him do what he needs to do while we flourish and do what we love and want to do.
How does that
I know
work
where you're
then?
going in terms of equality.
Yeah, like in terms of like wanting to earn as much as them, be equal participants in the workforce and all of that, while still being like, hold my bags. I want to be feminine. I want to be more of a traditional role.
I think you're hearing them differently. And I
Yeah.
might be wrong, but it's different to say I want a traditional role to letting someone step into something that's easy for them, i.e. lifting a bag, because it's so easy for them. I don't know. Maybe Dr. Liv, you can butt in.
Yeah. So you've got this underlying mindset or belief, and I'm going to call it a limiting belief about a man helping you equals you are less than.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
100%.
Huge unlock. You're so right. I've never thought of it like that.
I reckon that was with everyone. Like the people helping me means that I am less than.
Oh my God.
That's why I hate
Vic.
asking for help. I'm like, I can do it. I'm fine. But it's more prevalent definitely in relationships.
And so, Victoria, what you find is that you will go through life alone, and being alone also equates to feeling lonely. So you can be as busy as you like, but you will feel lonely because the women of the village rely on people. We don't do it on our own.
This is not where I thought this podcast was going at all. But I'm glad it has.
So can we just circle back then to how we can sit in a place of feeling feminine, whether it be dating and relationships, while also feeling powerful in our jobs, feeling like we're equals? Because I think there is, it's similar to how people use toxic masculinity all the time in the wrong setting. I think that this idea of equality versus leaning into your feminine is often really muddied. Can we just clarify what you mean there?
It's really muddy, just like it is muddy as in for men not knowing what masculinity looks like. You know, is it the traditional, I'm strong, let me carry your bags, or is it, I feel strong enough as a man to let you be as successful as you want and for me to be proud that you are earning that much money without me putting a glass ceiling? That's masculinity, right?
We're both like, unsure. Have we experienced it?
You can't, I know for sure Victoria hasn't, because she wouldn't allow it because it's too risky to go there, because all we do is we protect ourselves constantly. So as a woman, being feminine, it doesn't mean you're putting the apron on and you're doing the domestic chores. That's not it. If you look at the pure essence of a woman, it's about we have a womb. We are creative. We need to be doing the things we love. We have flow. We have emotions. We need to be fluid. When we lose the fluidity and we lose our creativity because we are so bent on not being less than, we become masculine. We become very, very stern. We become very controlled in the way we do things, and we lose our flow.
Vic's like,
I'm like, next.
Okay. So, Victoria, have the second date.
Yeah.
Have the second date.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to read the next one. Please promise that this will remain anonymous because it was awkward as fuck. I was with my now ex for 7 years. We were engaged, so I paid for things like flights, upgraded our accommodation above what I knew that he could afford, and just generally put more money into experiences that we had. Now, since we're separating and officially considered de facto, is that the same in Australia where if you're with someone for like a couple of years, you're technically the same laws apply financially if you've been together a certain amount? Yeah. He's entitled to half my house, which I put more into, and front-footed most of the renovations. I'm feeling a bit bitter about it. I don't know how to approach it now that we're separated. It's all getting messy. He's wanting to take more than what he should be entitled to, given I didn't take the time off to have kids or anything. So I think what she's meaning is it wasn't as though he deserves to take half of her stuff because he wasn't supporting her and taking time off work, maybe. Feeling awkward talking to friends about this, so any thoughts or help would be really appreciated.
Does she have children?
No. So I think the thing is they were together for 7 years. She put more money into their house, into, upgrading accommodation, things like that. She obviously had more disposable income. Now they're separating. He is entitled to half, and she's feeling really annoyed about it because
she's obviously gone above and beyond.
She's gone above and beyond
throughout the relationship.
And she has more money and she's put more into the house, and they haven't had kids or anything. So they've both just been working their own jobs.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a really hard position. I know that I don't know if in the UK, you can just sort of sift through what your contribution looked like financially and do a percentage base. So you can go to court and fight what your financial interest is in those assets. But, at the end of the day, it's the lawyers that get the money, and you're fighting and you don't know when it ends. Or do you go to the other option is to go to mediation and put it on the table and say, hey, this is the truth.
Oh, it's so
I think it's, I guess, a big learning from this is putting it in writing beforehand, particularly around the house, in terms of, okay, I've put in 80%, you've put in 20%. When we sell it, that's what you get back. I don't know. It's so hard.
Because I actually know a few people this has happened to.
Yeah, same.
So I know I've got a couple of clients going through this at the moment, and they are literally getting 7 years worth of bank statements, bank mortgage statements, where the payments came from. There's almost like a paper trail that they've had to get to then say to the court, here we go.
Oh, it's so messy.
This is how I paid for everything. This was my contribution. It becomes messy.
Sounds expensive. Yeah.
And expensive. Yeah.
I think the worst part of this is the bitterness you feel. How annoyed would you be if you're like, damn, I didn't know I should have put this in writing. And now, because things have turned a bit sour, he's able to actually take a lot more than he should be able to. That would really suck.
Yeah. But Sophie, I think, do you mean put things in writing prior to the relationship? Is that what you mean? Or just as you're going?
Well, yeah, I would say prior. I think if you've got assets, whether it be a house or stocks or businesses or anything, looking into getting a prenup of some description that says, going into this relationship, these are my things, is kind of clever. And we've spoken about this a lot, but I've heard so many times. I know if you have kids, it's really important that looks completely different. But I think if you haven't taken time out of your career and someone hasn't had to support the other person, and more or less you've been independent financially, to all of a sudden be de facto and then be able to access each other's assets 50-50 when there's been no real sacrifice from one or the other person, feels a bit wrong.
Yeah, it's very unfair.
So I don't know. I would say almost you need to look at getting therapy for how you're feeling, because knowing what we know about prenups, there's not a lot she can do.
I would be so bitter.
Yeah, you would, but you don't want it to be impacting you as you move forward, because an experience like this impacts financial decisions moving forward, relationships moving forward, investments moving forward. Do you trust people again? There's so many things that come up from an experience like this.
It's almost like financial trauma you take into your next relationship, and you might be so anal in terms of your finances with the next person. Yeah, it's kind of like drawing a line in the sand, moving on, and realizing that was a special case, or like, what can I learn but not change my behavior in terms of, substantially. But
and she may go and change her behavior. She may turn around and say, you know what, the next one I will do a prenup. And some people don't like that. A lot of people go into relationships, and when you start to talk about a prenup, they're like, you don't trust me. Like, this relationship's not based on trust, and I don't want to do it.
I just want to say to this person, who obviously will remain anonymous, I feel really sorry for you, and it sucks that you're feeling like this. And it also sucks that you feel like you can't talk to your friends about it, because I think
that's hard.
It's you need people that you can discuss things with, to get perspective, to have support, to work through things.
I also don't look at this as this will severely impact you financially going forward. I think if you kind of focus on the fact that, like, oh my God, I'm losing this amount of money to him, then that will just consume you, and like how much better off I could have been if I had that. Like, it's just like, okay, this was a shitty situation. The best way to move forward is just to have a more positive mindset, and put systems and processes in place that doesn't happen again, because otherwise it'll just eat you up. And
no, that's a really good piece of advice, I think.
It's like people that buy houses and the property market goes down, they sell it, they've lost money, or make a terrible investment decision and then never invest again, or never, it's like, no, you're not going to get it always right. But like, the sooner you can change your mindset and move on, the better off you'll be. Yeah.
That's the analogy I was going to use. I was going to use it and relate it back to a financial decision. And that's ultimately, this relationship was a bad financial decision, minus the relationship part of it. Okay. So I think in finances, when you think about, the mindset of failure, there is no failure if you learn from your mistake and you get up again and you do something different. And she has skills that are transferable. She had skills that were able to get her in a position that she was financially in a good position before, which means she takes those skills with her, and she just replicates what she's done before, and she makes money the same way she did in the past. So he can't take away the skills that she's got. He may be able to take a monetary value, but he can't take away the skills that you've got to make those. You can go out fishing, baby, and you can get as much fish as you want.
I love that. So true. Can't take away my skills.
Also, I'm just like, we have so many more of these to get through, but maybe we can do it another time.
Yeah, we've got so many goodies.
We've got so many good ones.
What we'll do is we'll wrap this up here and jump on again. That was so helpful. Maybe we can do a one-on-one session.
It's like I need some professional help.
This has been really great for me. Let's definitely jump on again. But no, thank you so much for your time. So it's really great getting a different perspective as well, because like Soph and I have done this so many times before in terms of having financial conversations, but getting an expert in was super, super helpful. So thank you so much.
No worries.
And appreciate you have a very busy day. So thank you so much for joining all the way from Australia.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Raising the Curve. These conversations are designed to teach you everything you need to know to be better with your money, from saving to investing to talking with your friends about your salaries, all of that stuff.
And if you like what you heard, we would love if you could please hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode.
And it only takes 1 second and it would really make our week, our month, our year.
Yeah.
So please do it. Okay. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.